everyone, I'm Denisha Devnarayan, and you're watching the Full Quota podcast on One World Sports Radio.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. This is your South African cricket podcast where we talk all things South African cricket. Tim's wish when we started this entire thing, and I think this is episode 40, so we can go through a lot. Tim's wish was for us to cover the domestic season, to be prepared for the domestic season, to be ready for the domestic season. And Tim got his wish because we're talking 4-day cricket. We're talking match day 4 of this lovely tournament that we have. It's domestic cricket. It's a new one. And we covered the first 3 weeks. We've covered Division 1 and Division 2. We've given you everything that you need to know. All we ask is for you to like, to subscribe to our channel and everything else that comes with us. We ask that you do follow us on all our different platforms. One thing I'd like to say to you is please do watch the cheap seats this week. We've got a lovely competition that we're running in with the cheap seats and classic shirts South Africa, where you can get the classic shirts. You know, we've got a competition going. It's a 1999 Manchester United shirt. Actually, let me put this up. Just give me a moment. This is our competition. You can win a shirt, the 1999 Manchester United classic shirt that is being sold by Classic Shirts ZA. Please do go follow them at Classic Shirts ZA as well. And yeah, we've got a lovely guest that's going to happen on Thursday. We've got a lovely interview that is going to be coming through. But yeah, so all of those things out the way. Tim, this week, how was your week? I was in Harare. I had a little bit of a Wi-Fi situation when you interviewed Bertus. But how was your week? How was the cricket? How did you enjoy the sunny weekend in Cape Town?
No, it was good. Unfortunately, the too many of the 4-day games were interrupted by rain as a whole. But all good. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, interrupted by rain. I was at the Women's World Cup qualifiers, and it was interrupted by Omicron. We had to get out. They got the teams out on Sunday because the flights were being cancelled, and I got back last night. Really lovely. If you want to watch some associate cricket, please do check it out. It's always great. Women's cricket is on the rise. That Thailand team, oh my word, they are incredible cricketing side. To think that there were softball players a couple of years ago, and now they are really knocking on the door, asking to be let into the ICC Women's Championships for the ODIs. And I think the ICC should do that because they were the best team in Zimbabwe. They won 3 out of 4. Really good to watch. So yeah, if you want to start a petition and you're listening and you're watching us, please do so. But let's go to our topic of the day, which is the CSA 4-day. Let's look at the results. Go through the results, and then we're going to discuss what happened in each match. Let's discuss the draws first because those were quick. The Paarl Rocks went on their second leg of their Cape Town tour to Paarl against the Paarl Rocks. They didn't come out with a win because of all the rain around. Scored 308. In that 308, it was Neil Brand who scored 111. Gian Kluter, who hasn't been in the runs over the past couple of years, now scoring a 56. Corbin Bosch scored a 46. Zakele Kobe was the chief wicket taker for the Rocks, 4 for 40. Mahadis for Yun took 2 wickets, and so did Sia Mahima, he took 2. The Rocks replied with 234. Ismail Khafildin, who used to play for the Cobras, he scored 97, as well as Fresco Adams scoring 44. Corbin Bosch, Dayan Khalim took 2 wickets, and Simon Hamid took 3 for 52. Aika Mane took 3 for 41. But then in that reply in the second innings, which was effectively a damn squib, you can see there the Titans scored 96 for 3. Neil Brandt coming out with 32. And Kluter with a 28. Tim, can you hear me better?
A little bit. I didn't hear a lot of that in the interlude with the fixture. You were breaking up quite a bit.
Okay, cool.
But I think I can hear you now. Do you want me to just talk about the Titans
Yeah,
there?
about that game. It was disappointing with the rain. Neil Brand scoring that 100.
But it's a good game. Good game. Good to see the Neil Brunt really performing now, making a name for himself, getting the captaincy, really putting his foot down and.
I think we've lost Tim. Let me just check if he's still around. And Tim's frozen, so we'll just hold back a little bit, just wait for him to come back. So that was that in that game. Just trying to check if Tim's going to come through again. Okay. In the meantime, as Tim tries to log back on and log back in, let me just take you through some of the key fixtures, and then we'll talk about them once he's come back. The results that happened in that. So that was the first match. The Rocks got 234. We do apologize for that. That's what happens from a Wi-Fi perspective. Things happen. People break up. So we just have to work with that in the land of COVID. We've also got the Warriors, the Dragons and the Dolphins. Northwest played the Dolphins in Potchefstroom. There was a lot of rain there. The Dolphins scored 400 runs. Marcus Ackerman scoring a now lovely 123. Keegan Peterson in the runs again. It's a second half century this tournament. Bryce Parsons also in the runs. He scored 65 in that innings. Ruan de Swart scored 75. You can see where this Northwest side is struggling. They're struggling from a bowling perspective a lot. But in that innings, Delana Pochita, an all-rounder who I think should be in Pro Tour consideration, scored 5 for 85. And then in reply, Northwest scored 313 for 12. Lesegos and Nokwane opening batter for this Northwest side, scoring 91. Really good to see there. Shaylin Pillay, who has been playing provincial cricket for Gauteng before this franchise series became a provincial series, and he scored 156. Really lovely innings there from Shaylin Pillay. And then we also had Brits who scored a 60 there. Not a lot to talk about from a wickets column for the Dolphins. And so, yeah, that was a hard one because we had a lot of rain going around here on the Highveld, and they were playing in Potchefstroom. Talk about the other win. We'll talk about the Lions game because that leads to the Duan Olafia conversation. But the Warriors beat Viapia very convincingly. And the Warriors set Western Province 366. The Warriors set Western Province 366, and they ended up winning by an innings, having bowled out Western Province for 79. But that 366 from the Warriors had Matthew Bretzker scoring 100 off 202, as well as Rudy Second, who I think has been largely forgotten in South African cricket. I remember a couple of seasons ago, Rudy Second was averaging 50. He scored a 76. Carl Jacobs, who's a junior in this side coming through what is it? It's a Warriors setup, scoring 52. He also took wickets in the second innings. Ziad Abrahams of Western Province took 3 for 59. Carl Simmons took 4 for 78. In reply, Western Province were bowled out for 78. Only Captain Yasin Vali having scoring 18. Mtiwa Nabith took 3 for 33. Tepondande 3 for 7. And Andilem Kletra took 2 for 2 for 9. In the follow-on, Western Province only managed 173. Bashir Walters with a stand at number 752. With a 72. And Vian Libba taking 3 for 27. He was the chief destroyer in that innings. You had Carl Jacobs 2 for 11 and Tsepo Ndwandwe 2 for 39. Very interesting to see this Warriors side. Robbie P has them in a very good position going into a little bit of a break until the 19th of December. They've been playing some really good cricket and they are moving up the table very well. And then from a Lions versus Knights perspective, that game was one of the most intriguing low-scoring contests you can find. The same rain that affected the Dragons and Dolphins, a similar rain that affected the Lions and the Knights, but they managed to get a result. The Knights were bowled out on day one for 124, which made it the 7th time that the Lions have bowled out a team for under 180. They were going to make it 8 in that second innings to lead them to victory. What they ended up doing is that it was a stop-start innings. He scored 193 for 3 declared. Josh Richards scored his 100. Really happy for him. He hasn't given a lot of opportunities last season, but Josh Richards scored a very lovely 100 here at the Wanderers under some trying conditions because it was really tough coming on for the rain, not knowing when you're going to play, but he managed to put those runs away. The other able partner is was Kagiso Rapulana, scored a lovely 40 the previous week. He ended up with 58 in that 193. The Lions started day 4 and realized that actually let's try declare and see if we can't take 10 wickets cheaply. And so they went on to do that, and they did that very well. They just demolished the Knights batting lineup. Matthew Kleinfeld only managing to score 19. Keith Dudgeon, who came in on loan from the KZN Inland with 18. Duan Olivier finished in the first innings, took 5 wickets. He ended up with 3 for 15 in the second innings. Malisu Siboto was the chief destroyer. He ended up with 4 for 17. Vian Mulder took the other 3 wickets, 3 for 40. Duan Olivier finished with figures of 8 wickets for 68 runs. And Malisu Siboto also finished with 7 wickets in that game. Vian Mulder finished with 5 wickets in that game. That Lions team was just that good. Tim, are you back again?
I'm back. Sorry.
Sure. So what I've done, Tim, is I've described, and I think he's frozen again. Tim, can you hear me? Okay. Tim's gone again. So we're going to have to try and get him on a better line. Yes. So what we've done is obviously we've described everything. And now we're going to just take you through the table and the top point scorers, and then we'll get Tim for this discussion. He's truly struggling from a Wi-Fi perspective, but just to give you the discussion on that. So the table looks like this. So after 4 games, this is what the table looks like. The Lions opened up a handy lead at the top of the table. 92 points. They didn't get a lot of bonus points in this game. The big issue with the Lions, I think, is that they're getting a lot of batting bonus points, largely because they just keep on bowling teams out. They only have one answer to them. They've only been able to. They haven't put up like a big score. I think they only put up a big score above 350 once, and that was the first game of the season. The Warriors coming through with that 75.04. They've moved up 2 spots. The Titans moved up once. They've moved up 1 spot. The Titans have also moved up 1 spot. The Knights were the biggest losers this week. They've moved down 2 spots, 55 points in 4th. The Dolphins are in some sort of a purgatory. They haven't won a game. They've drawn all their games. They also haven't lost a game. So they're in some sort of a purgatory. Tim, can you hear me?
I can. I hope I will be back permanently, but we'll see.
Okay. I think the best thing might be for you to switch off your mic for now, so people know your lovely face. Your camera, not mic, I beg your pardon. And then just to conserve some bandwidth from your end. I'm just going through the table, and then we'll talk about the results. The Rocks also hanging in that purgatory area where they've like drawn 3, lost 1. A win can help them. A win might help them push up maybe into the 50s. And this is the moment where teams need to start winning, because the Lions are already long gone at the top of the table. Remember, there's going to be a final, so the top 2 teams will play in a final. But the interesting thing that bothered me, and I'm sure Tim will bemoan this, is that the Dragons somehow in that drawn match have managed to leapfrog Western Province from the bottom of the table and leave Western Province back at the bottom, which is a position they've been occupying for the past 3 seasons in franchise cricket. So Tim, that's the table. What did you make of the fixture? So we're going to start with Titans and Rocks, and then we're going to go to Dolphins and Dragons, and we'll talk about the 2.
Okay, so the Titans Rocks, as I said earlier before I got cut off, really good to see Neil Brandt performing well with the bat. The Titans do seem to be performing well with the bat as a whole. Even when they find themselves in trouble, they can rely on Corbin Bosch. Corbin Bosch is producing runs in the lower order on a consistent basis now, and quickly. Paul Rocks, they concern me. They need to get Kyle Abbott fit and on a regular basis. Hardest is struggling. When Fabrice Adams is your premier fast bowler business, which he's doing really well, you've got a problem there. You need Hardest needs to produce the goods. He's averaging 42 this season, and that's a huge concern. I know that the par wicket is a bit flat, but you need to find a way to get it. And I think he's just relying too much on his pass.
Tim, that Paul team, what's their problem? Is it a balance issue? I know Carl's injured, so what's Carl's injury? But what's their problem right now? Because when we were in April, when we were discussing this, they had done an incredible job to get the players they had. They got the cream, the best players in the Western Province, and then all of a sudden they're not looking like, well, Western Province at the bottom of the log, but like Paul shouldn't be where they are right now.
I think in part they rely a lot on people like Abbott to be fit, and also I bought into the fanfare of Stian coming over, going back to his homeland, going back to his home province. But I spoke to a few people from Sussex, and they said his best are over. I thought that wouldn't matter. I thought that's not going to matter. He's still going to have enough in the tank for another couple of seasons to show his experience. But I actually think they might be right. I think he's had a couple of problems with his knees the last couple of years. So that's having people like the guy that did well in the T20 competition haven't transitioned well. So he hasn't really got the T20 competition, haven't transitioned too well. That the keeper, I can't remember.
Clyde Fortain.
His name. There we go. He has not transitioned from T20 to producing stuff at the 4-day stuff. So I think just as a collective, they're not gelling. They're relying on Sean Berg's doing a sterling job picking up wickets on a consistent basis, but he needs somebody else to chip in. So you've got your Fabrice Adams and your Sean van Bergs and your Raman. But if they don't succeed, they tend to have a problem.
Yes, that's Sean van Berg. You mentioned Fabrice Adams, and you also mentioned Imran Manak, I think. We just lost you a little bit. I just wanted to... Yes, Tim?
I should have mentioned him. No, I got you, Paul. I've got you. Got me?
Okay. 100%, Tim. Don't worry. We're going to soldier on through this. I think
every game. I only think he's played a couple of games. They've kind of said, "Sean, you're the premier spinner in the 4-day stuff. We're sticking with you." I think maybe at the back end of the competition, they might play the both of them. That might be a way to go, particularly if Hardness is going to continue to struggle.
Yeah, but they're also playing Sia Mahima because he played in this game, and that was my surprise. I was trying to figure out if Iman Manak was injured of some sort.
That's true. They did do that. They did. So they've got options.
Okay.
They've got options. But I just think
let's
not
move.
getting right. Yeah.
So let's move on to the next game, the next draw. That was the Dolphins and the Dragons. It was the one chance for the Dolphins to win. And somehow the rain took that away from them because they set a lovely 400 for 9 and they declared. And then the heavens opened up and they never seemed to close. The Dragons did seem to score 313. I loved Lesego Senokwane's 91. But Mark Ackerman's 100 wasn't enough. Like, where do the Dolphins go from here?
Yeah, it's everybody is struggling. The only people that are not, of course, are your boys, the Lions, which we will get into.
The Warriors aren't struggling either.
Again, they're struggling with injuries. They are probably struggling from injuries more than anybody, though. So, Bartman is a huge loss. Particularly, they're struggling to get 20 wickets. And again, too much emphasis on to Pavlon if he doesn't play that bowling attack without him. And now Bartman, it looks a little toothless, if I'm honest. De Swart is, I think, more of a batting all-rounder, useful for a few overs, but he's not really going to get you a chunk of wickets. So their problem for me is the bowling. So it's becoming a problem for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and essentially, obviously, Darren Pavlon is out. They opened the innings in Poch with Pranilin Subryan and Bryce Parsons. And that was just a red flag for me. It was like, okay, that means that you have literally nobody there. And the interesting thing was, and I was chatting to guys in Zimbabwe and they were asking me about Tando Ntini. This is the moment where Tando Ntini could come through, but he's not there. I'm assuming he's fit, but he's not even being selected. He's not doing enough to be selected.
Yeah, he was playing club cricket this weekend. He was playing club cricket.
And that's honestly, somebody needs to talk to him, give him a kick up the backside, because these are the moments where you need to shine. When all the Proteas are gone, you need to be dominating in this tournament. And yeah, obviously the rain happened, but as I said earlier, they're in some sort of a purgatory right now. Like, they need to win the next 3 of their games to keep themselves in the hunt. If they do, they'll be second on the log, and then they'll be hoping that they be in that time. Those 3 games they have to beat the Lions, so that would kind of even things out and get them in that final. Because I don't understand how you can be champions in 1 year and just like draw your first 4 games, and there's no rain around. So as you said, it's that bowling attack. The next game, Tim, was the one that ended up with a win. Your Western Province, Tim, just struggling from a batting perspective. The Warriors, that pitch in Gqeberha is not a snake pit. It offered everything for everybody. Fast bowlers took wickets, spinners took wickets, but Western Province just really struggled.
And they're going to continue to struggle. It's basically, I've got to be honest with you, it's basically an academy side. If you look at the names of the players on that team, it's an academy side. They've lost players to SAA. They've lost players to the Proteas. I could give you a whole list of players that they've missed. They've got bowlers out for, Nigel Burke's out for until the new year. Bareki's out. Parnell's with the Proteas. All sorts. Tony DeSorsi's away. So that's 4. That's really 4 guys. So it didn't surprise me at all. That being said, another solid performance from the Warriors. They're doing really good stuff. They're just keeping within range of the Lions. Really good performances. Good performances in the bowling department, actually, by Mpho and Quota. I thought he bowled really, really well, particularly. Nabi as well. When they were picking the extra bowler for the Netherlands series, I would have gone with somebody like Nabi.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have gone with youth. Particularly, I'm thinking 2023. I would have gone with somebody with a youth. But be that what it may, a really solid performance. Good to see Carl Jacobs chipping in as well. Carl Jacobs, a bit of an all-rounder as well. I think he's more of a bowling all-rounder, but good to see he made 52 in the first innings. Solid innings. So clearly he has some ability for that. And of course, Matthew Britsky, 100. That guy is just smashing runs consistently now. I think his average is 58, I think, this year.
We'll talk about that. Don't worry. We've got. He rocketed up to the number 2 spot in our top performance slide here at One World Sports Radio.
So solid. Good performance of the Warriors. Province. We know why Province are struggling. We know. Don't need to keep. We know why they're struggling. If they get their players back, they'll be more competitive.
Yes, and that was the disappointing thing. And as you said, they're an academy side. They look like an academy side. Imagine not having Zubair, not having Tony, not having Kyle, not having George, not having pretty much everybody in that side. Wayne, Buren, Temple Mareki is also out. So I kind of feel for them, and you can kind of see why they dropped to the bottom of the log this weekend. That Warriors side is playing some incredible cricket. They're not relying on one person. We've got different people contributing. But there's one thing I want to talk to you about is Rudy Second. I mentioned him earlier while I was going through the results. I think Rudy Second is one of the unlucky guys in the in when people are talking about Proteas, because he's been averaging 50 and 40 in this 4-day series for a very long time, for years. And this 79 kind of is saying like he's still here, and he scored some runs in the previous games as well. I know he's never going. I think he got one call up into the Proteas setup and never got a game. But if we're looking for middle order batsmen, I wouldn't bemoan having Rudy Second in the side, because I think he's really good.
The thing is, I had Rudy in my team of the week because of performance, because of the fact that he's been off. Maybe not last year or the year before. He dropped off a little bit. I think his time is gone, unfortunately. I like Rudy. He's a consistent cricketer. But I just think with Carl here, Quinton here, Ryan Rickleton, his time is gone. He's a not a few caps for the Proteas. Very, very consistent throughout his career on a general basis. So, from a domestic point of view, really good to see him back in the runs. I'm glad that the fire is there, still there, for burning for him to want to do, because that Warriors side is a very young side, so he's got a lot to teach a lot of the youngsters around that squad. So yeah, it's good to see him back, but I think for higher honours, his time is past, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's we're going to talk about another player in the last game. But one other thing that Werner brought up that I was going to talk to you about, Tristan Stubbs made his debut. You spoke to him. You spoke about him in Bertus's interview. Wasn't like he got a couple of wickets, got a few runs. Wasn't like he didn't blow down the barn door, but it was really good to see that Tristan getting that opportunity.
Yeah. We know he's a talented cricketer. We know he's got a bright future ahead of him, whichever avenue he chooses. And yes, with Bert in his interview, when we interviewed him, which is good to see. But yeah, a very talented youngster. I think he's one of those guys we don't want to do. There's some there at the World Warriors. They don't have a good season. They don't have a good season in all formats. Maybe a good month as well. See how it goes. Let him enjoy his cricket first before we start thinking about A-team selection and emergence and that sort of thing. But I do like him a lot.
He should be in the emerging side. The emerging side is
yes.
He should be
there.
Yeah,
emerging.
but not
Yeah.
A-team.
Yeah.
Yes, emerging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final game of the weekend. The Lions managing a win. They were very aggressive on the final day, declaring on 193 for 3 with just a 62-run lead, and they managed to pull it off.
Lions doing Lions things, boy. They're just saying, we will beat you. Wherever, we will beat you. And whichever all has bad day, the next one comes along and just has a great day. As we saw, for the last 3 weeks, we've seen it's all and he said recently, it's a team collective. He says so himself, it's a team collective. Everybody's chipping in, everybody's helping out. Supporter got his just as it deserves. For 3 weeks, he's been getting 1s and 2s and doing well, but not getting the wickets. This round, he got 7. He got 7 wickets. He got 4 for 17 in the first innings, I think. So it's really good to see him, taking the limelight, if you like, for the particular week. But you could pick all 4, any 4 of them. They're all having amazing series. It's just
and don't forget Vian Mulder taking 5 wickets. Yep. You've also Malusi Siboto's average, guys, is like 6 in this format.
It's 7.
And he's the other guy.
7.6.
Yes. He's the other guy who the Proteas ship has sailed because he's been one of the most consistent bowlers in franchise cricket, in domestic franchise cricket, 4-day cricket for the past 5 years. He's never gotten a Proteas call up. Everyone thought similar to a Dane Patterson, a Vern when people weren't wanting to select Vern, they were like his pace is a little bit too slow for international cricket, but he's doing the business at domestic cricket, and he's actually, you'll see when we put up the top performers, he's up there now. And the Lions have like Luto Sapamla was top of the pops when he left to go play SAA, but that was before, I think 2 games ago. And now it's Juwan who's leading the things. And from the one thing I was happy about was the aggression that that Wandile, the coach, Wandile Gwavu had, and so too the captain, in deciding to declare at the start of day 4 and giving his bowlers the ball and saying, try cause damage, and they did. It's the first game that they've bowled in the second, they've batted in the second innings, but they only batted for 38, but they did an incredible job to still restrict another team in both innings under 180.
Yep.
So here's another question.
Just special. We've got to give credit to Joshua Richards. Always give credit to the Lions batting. But that 100 was a very good innings.
Yes, Josh Richards was the Lions Provincial Player of the Year last year, so he got that call up to the top, and he's done really well. Kagiso Rapulana as well, one guy I'm wanting to actually do well, and he scored that 58. That was really good to push them through. The one thing that I want to talk about is Keith Dudgeon, because Keith Dudgeon seems to be playing for everybody right now. He played for the Dolphins last week. Went to go play, then played for the Rhinos again because not the Rhinos, the Tuskers, because he's contracted there. And this week he was playing for the Knights. And I kind of feel that maybe had the Dolphins called him up a little bit earlier and kept him in that side, he would have helped the Dolphins instead of the Knights. But he didn't help the Knights much because he didn't take a lot of wickets.
Yeah, that's a missed opportunity for the Dolphins. Keith's a good, consistent cricketer. I think the Knights just had a bad day at the office. I think they just literally all of them just struggled as a whole, really.
Well,
not all that surprising.
Well, at lunch on day 1 there was 67 for 1, and it just fell apart after that. Duan just causing damage wherever.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Duan Olivier, Tim. A lot of people are wanting him the Proteas side. Some people are saying no, he's not loyal. He's come out to say that Victor's called him and he said he's available. What are your thoughts on Duan being in the side? I'll let you know mine. Mine a little bit more lines based, because if you guys don't want him on the Proteas side, I don't mind watching him bowl at the Wanderers. I have no issues. That's my thing. He should be in that Proteas test squad, but if you don't want him, he's the backbone of that attack. Malusi Suboto is there. We will win games while the Proteas are playing, and it will be great because I want to win as much as everybody, and I see him as our fourth seamer. So I as a replacement to Anuf Nokia, I think Lungi's your third seamer for India. But what do you think?
I think for that Indian series, it's a no-brainer for me. He's got to be in that squad of 15. I think there's no question about it whatsoever. Like with any test match, with any surface, it's pitch dependent. You want to go in with two spinners, one spinner. But for me, he has to be in that squad. I would, if it's a normal Wanderers pitch, I'm going KG, Nokia, and assuming they say that Ngidi hasn't had enough cricket because of COVID, and he hasn't played now for the 4-day series. So assuming he is out, it's going to be Rabada, Nokia, and Olivier for me, with Maharaj. Be me, be my assuming that was the case. But he has to be in that squad.
But we're in November. We're in November, and Lungi should be out of his COVID protocol probably the first week of December next week. So he'll have two weeks to train with the squad and play that internal game. The problem I have with people now is because they're not seeing Lungi, they think Lungi's not a great bowler and he's a scrub and he shouldn't be in that side. And Lungi should be playing in that first test if he's fit, regardless of whether Duan is there or not.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I don't disagree. But Olivier needs to be there. And if one of the three had a bad test match, boom, he plays the second test match. For me, it's that simple. Because
if the British go all seam, it Olivier is the fourth seamer. Exactly.
If they think there's no chance of spin having an effect, then absolutely you go with the 4, and yeah. The other point is you need to actually just watch Olivier. So you need to watch 5 minutes of him for the lad. You watch the links that he's bowling. He starts bowling half trackers and aiming at the people's heads. Yes, he's bowling. That short ball is a surprise to look. He's getting LBW and bounce because he's bowling a fuller length in at the batsman and top of off all the time. You need to actually see how much he's changed as a bowler. He's no longer that bowler that left South Africa and went to England. He's now a much different and much improved and much better bowler, in my opinion. So for me, yes, it's a no-brainer for me. Squad-wise, he's got to be in that squad. There's no debate on that front.
No, I can't fight you there. But if you don't want to pick him, it's fine. We'll play that round on the 19th. We'll win again in Cape Town, and then the Lions will have won 5 in a row. Well, I think they still can win 5 in a row because the other thing is I'm assuming Carl will still be the Proteas, but Zubair will be back. So the province will be a little bit stronger this time, coming up against the Lions team that might not have Luto. They will have Sisanda. They won't have Duan. But Ryan will be back, so it might just be a much more fairer contest. You just need to pray for Rainton because I think that's the only way it can save Western Province. But yeah, we'll do that later. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our discussion about the 4-day series. Tim, let's just talk about the top performance before we go, and then we discuss the breaking news that came through today. So top of the order from the run scoring perspective, it's Pite van Biljon. He didn't move the needle too much. His average did drop. His average was 180, now at 69.6. Matthew Bretzke shot up with those 100 runs to second, 338 runs. A value to kind of express how well the Warriors are doing. They finally have a batter in. They've got a batter in the top 6, and they've got a bowler in the top 6 run scorers. That's very good to see. 338 runs, an average of 56. Neil Brunt from the Titans is having a stellar season, the second century this year. 327 runs, average of 65. Grant McGuinn still there at the top. He didn't have a great match the last time, but his average, his runs, he's still up there. That 157 really doing him justice and helping him there. Then you've got the two Dragons batters, Nicky van den Berg and Wesley Marshall, which kind of let you know why the Dragons are above Western Province on the log. These two are really good batters. They should be in the Proteas side. Tim, what do you think of these run scorers, especially those two at the bottom? Because I think they should be in and around Proteas squads, regardless of limited overs or 4-day cricket or 5-day cricket.
Look, for me, both of those two at the bottom and Bretzke should be being picked at least for selection. Definitely. I've said this before. I think Wesley Marshall should be in that squad that goes to Australia for the World next year. Again, I think that's a no-brainer. I think Nicky van den Berg should have been in that A series that's happening now. The second game up in Tower, I think he should have been the keeper. I totally agree.
Okay. Yes, and then looking at the wicket takers, Duan Olafir, as you say, Tim, everybody else at the lines are scrubs, but it's fine. Duan, 28 wickets. Simon Harmer, 20 wickets in second. Malusi Siboto, 17 wickets at an average of 7.64. Mtiwaka Nabe, 16 wickets at an average of 20. I'm happy for him. I think he should be in consideration for SAA. He should have been in Bloom. Sisanda Magala, 15 wickets. And Carl Simmons as well coming through for Western Province. Whoop, whoop. With an average of 33 for his 15 wickets. I'm surprised by Simo. But it's been a spinner's paradise there in Western Province, so I kind of get that. I look at those two at the yes.
Yeah, I was going to say Simmons has also bowled an enormous amount of overs simply because there is no Parnell, Hendricks, Muriki, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So he's now become the senior bowler, if you like. When things have been difficult, the ball has been thrown to Simmons time and time again. So while those numbers might not sound brilliant, in South African conditions, in a team that doesn't really have an out-and-out pace attack, that is extremely good effort from Simmons. He's done extremely well. Toiled hard on some very flat pitches at Western Province this year.
Yeah. Another bowler who could be added onto this list is Keith Dudgeon. He's taken 15 wickets across both divisions, but because he's a predominantly Division 2 player, we'll leave his wickets there. Just to note, in case somebody goes, but Keith Dudgeon also has 15 wickets. Yes, we know he does. He's been on loan. So, it can't be like, well, Keith Dudgeon, that's okay. Cool. Next one are the fixtures. This week, we've got Division 2. That's what we're looking at. That's what's going to be on the SuperSport channel. We've got the Lanyate against the Northern Cape Heat. That's going to be quite interesting because I'm hoping for Border previously known as Border Eastern Cape Lanyate to actually to come up against this team. I think the Northern Cape Heat is pretty experienced team. Rivaldo Mansami scored 100 last week, so that's going to be quite cool. The Limpopo Impalas are taking on the Southwestern Districts in Polokwane. That's going to be quite interesting for the team that's been playing their games in Oudtshoorn, and that's the Six Gun Grill SWD. And then the Rhinos take on the Eastern Storm. The Eastern Storm, who were I don't know if it was humiliation, but they were beaten really well by SAA in what wasn't supposed to be a win for SAA. They had them in trouble, and then Devil Brevis and Andres and Milani just pulled them out the Maya, chasing 302 in a 50 over game over this weekend. Which games are you looking out for, Tim?
I'm not going to play favourites, so I'm going to go with the Nyati game. I think the first game is probably going to be the best one of the weekend. So it's almost a little that's been played. It's the first game of the weekend rather than the last, but the first one. So who they're playing? They're playing
the last one. It's the Eastern
Northern Cape, Eastern Cape Yachty. That one.
Yes,
I think that's going to be the most competitive, shall we say? I think.
Yes.
You're right. SWT is playing away, but I think SWT will have too much. If they have their players all five have too much, even though they're playing away.
Okay, and then that's it. Did you watch any of the SAA games against India A, Tim?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Well, this is where go back to what you said about Olafin and nobody else. So it was decent. It was a decent watch. Mm-hmm. I would have liked something more for the bowlers, though. Look, it's a normal Bloemfontein wicket. That's normally what happens. There's a reason why Renat van Tonte averages 70 on the pitch. There's a reason. There's a reason why he averages 70 on there. And
there's also a reason why I think the only win the Knights have is at home.
So yeah, it's disappointing from a bowler's point of view. But going back to what you said earlier, so Peter Malan makes 163. Huge, because from a lot of people, he was going to be in the who did we just talk about now? The keeper, the 34-year-old keeper from the Warriors. Okay, he was going to be in
Rudy Second.
Yeah, he was going to be in the Rudy Second. He was going to be. His time was gone. He'd just reached a certain age of his career. He was just going to be a domestic cricketer. Lost his place with the Proteas. Went over to Warwickshire. Did well for Warwickshire. They liked him. He came back and got this. I think it surprised a few people. It surprised me. I sort of saw one of Malan and both. So for me, his 163 was far more impressive than anybody else. That does not mean that the guys below that made the 50s and 60s and 80s were not good. The point is, that had far more weight to it, in my opinion, than Jason Smith 52. Nice innings, good innings. He'll be disappointed. He didn't get 3 figures. If he's on, so that's why I give a lot more credence to something like 163. With all those things that went on, it's early on in the innings. They were 14 for 2. Sort of thought, India A, it's a good team, good pace, lots of things. I thought Tony's 100 was also a very good innings in trying conditions. That's why I thought when I talk about things, I'm not going to mention every single innings that was 50 and above. I'm going to talk about people who I think is better, who I think are better. That is why when I talk about the domestic stuff. The public, great to see him back for the Lions. Wonderful. Good to see him back in form. Who's bowling better? John Olafir is bowling better. That's just how I see it. They're both doing well. One is doing better than the other. That's all I'm saying. Not that the other guy's not doing well.
Look, I'm truly surprised. So here's my thing. I'm truly surprised that after seeing that game, the draw, right? Because Sheila's 50 was really good to see. I obviously wanted him to get into the runs. He got in there. He did quite well. Could have gone to 3 figures, but I'm not worried about that. Peter Malan scoring that 162 has people thinking that the Proteas could open with Dean Algar and Peter Malan and have Aiden Markram, the most versatile cricketer in the world, to bat at 3. What do you think of that?
I hope not. I hope not.
Why?
Because one innings does not make a whole complexion of things. It doesn't make complexion. Me, you've said Irvia is the next guy.
Yes.
Irvia is the next guy for me. He's got to be the next guy.
But
Peter
also
Malan's
Keegan
got to do this
Peterson.
on a Peter Malan's got to do this on a consistent basis. If he makes 163 in the second game and Irvia fails again, and he makes 100 in the third game and Irvia fails again, then we can who's going to be the opener. But I'm not on one innings, in one match. You need to be consistent in your communication. Irvia is still the number 2 opener. The next in line, if somebody gets injured, he doesn't automatically get dropped because of one bad game. You need to have consistency.
And so too Keegan Peterson as well. Keegan Peterson has batted really well so far this season. He hasn't scored the big hundreds like a couple of the other guys. He's not in the top run scorers, but he's scored back-to-back 50s in games, and obviously that game in Poch got rained out, so there's nothing he could have done about that. To close off the show, Tim, we've got 2 more things to discuss. One thing but happening. So India A, both teams, South Africa and India A, have now made additions to their squad. So let's have a look at that. South Africa A, you can see in the yellow boxes there, have added Kaya Zondo and Zubair Hamza to the squads. Tim, what do you think of these appointments or these additions?
Good additions by South Africa. Zondo's been Mr. Consistent so far. Zubair Hamza, well, yeah, he's been also been excellent. It certainly strengthens the team. Let's put it that way. It strengthens the team. It doesn't weaken them. It strengthens the team. That is
India A,
without question.
And India A doing what they were doing in Australia, just adding on another pacer in Deepak Chahar to be a net bowler for this India A side, the Indian side when they eventually arrive. And then Ishan Kishan, who is his claim to fame to me is that he's a Quinton de Kock lookalike, but he's a really exciting batter at the top of the order. What do you make of these 2 additions, Tim? Do you think they'll make it into the side?
It can. It doesn't weaken them. It strengthens them. I think the Deepak one is an interesting one because when you looked at the spin bowling and they saw that spin bowling just do it, I was very, very disappointed in Chahar. I thought the Mumbai Indians Chahar. I thought he was going to be really, really impressive, and he bowled really poorly. So that would be interesting to see if they go in with, shall we say, one less spinner. I think they might go with one less spinner. And, Kishan, as you say, Kishan is very exciting. I'm not sure they're going to play him, but if they play him, it won't be boring. Let's put it that way.
It won't be. He's not willing to let balls go. He's a very high strike rate type of batter. I wouldn't say Wesley Marshall-esque, but I think he's a little bit more cautious than Wesley Marshall because I think Wesley's just does incredible things. But Tim,
Wesley doesn't care. Wesley doesn't care.
Well,
he doesn't care about any format. I'm going to play the same way in every format. Anyway, yes, go on.
We'll just close. Yes, sure. Tim, thank you very much. Yes, Wi-Fi had us a little bit there, so if you can get through those 12 minutes of me rambling on, do apologize. But we are living in this world where Wi-Fi can go away because that's where we are right now. Thank you very much for joining us. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do follow us on Twitter. Remember, we're running the competition on Instagram. Please do go check it out to see if you can't win a 1999 Manchester United Classic shirt. Tim's a Liverpool fan, so he's tagging his Manchester United friends. I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm tagging all my Manchester United friends for them to enter and everything else. Really awesome competition. But outside of that, till later in the week, because we've got a very exciting guest coming through. He plays in this 4-day series that we've just spoken about. He's been playing all the games. He's actually a captain of one of the sides. So you can guess who we're talking about throughout the week. It's going to be quite exciting to have somebody discuss what's been happening in the 4-day series from a player's and a captain's perspective. Until next time, thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye, good night, and Lisale Kakafiso.